YouTube family, my name is Elysia English and today I am filming my first DIY in my makeover of my studio. If you missed that video yesterday, make sure you don't miss the big reveal. I worked for the entire week creating my dream studio using mostly repurposed materials and I think it turned out pretty great and I'm excited that we're filming in it finally today and I have a big craft show coming up. So many of you know, Philip and I have been on the hunt for long pine cones. I've had an idea that I really wanted to do for my upcoming craft show that was a huge seller and sold out on my last craft show. And so I really wanted to find some. They're everywhere in Ontario, but not so much here in Nova Scotia. Apparently, we just didn't know where to look.
They're camouflaged, but they're there.
We finally found pine cones.
Yay, pine cones! I found the right trees. I'm excited.
I can tell.
I'll open them at home with the oven. Something eats them.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
know what eats them. I'm gonna be so sassy into this.
That's okay.
Not like love sassy.
I'm gonna open up my bag. All right, let's go, babe. This is exciting.
It's the little things that make me happy. Best husband ever.
Aw, thanks,
Finding
hon.
pine cones with me. He's been on the hunt for like 3 weeks for me. In Ontario, I could just walk outside and find them all over the town we lived in. And you'd think with all these different types of pine trees in Nova Scotia that I would have found pine cones by now. Apparently only on specific trees and they're not as easy to find as we thought. They don't have to be the huge ones, but
No.
if they are, it's okay because I can cut them smaller for what I want to do.
Here's one.
Like cut them shorter.
Yes, you can make them smaller
Or I can
or glue some together. Make a giant pine cone. Little mushroom.
That thing is so cool! Look at that thing!
Oh wow.
It looks like it's rubber. It looks like Alice in Wonderland.
It's a labyrinth under there.
This is all pine cone chunks.
Chunks. Must be something living in there. Eating it up. Squirrels maybe? Squirrel.
I think I could find more than you, but I did get a head start.
Well, I'm gonna put the camera away then if it's a competition. I'll get my digging on. Oh my gosh, I can see you have a lot.
Show me what you got in your bag. Did you fill the bottom and leave?
Hey, don't give away my secrets.
Oh, I found more. Wait, can I add 3 nice more ones to my bag?
Stop adding. Time's up.
Whoa, your bag is actually heavier than mine. I look like I have more pine cones, but yours feels heavier.
But all in all, we did so good.
That's so fun. Look out, penguins. Yay, I'm so excited. I wanted to make these penguins and Philip's like, thank goodness we found pine cones. Now I can stop hearing about let's go on a pine cone hunt.
You can't beat this.
This is insane. Gorgeous. These are eastern white pines. That's the type of tree that I've been looking for and I didn't know, so I was like, okay, you know what? I have to admit, I'm new here. I don't know my new area. I'm gonna enlist in some help. So I wrote on our local buy and sell site and I was like, I'm looking for these pine cones. And then I had a bunch of people that obviously do crafting.
We know where there's a forest.
And they're like, there's a few places you can check here, here, and here. And I was like, okay, we're gonna go run some errands today because it was a good almost hour from our house where these trees were. We were already going that way. And so I thought, okay, on the way back, we're gonna check it out. We're gonna bring our reusable bag and see if we can find some. We know we need to come earlier next year, that they would have fallen probably in the windstorm that we had maybe a week or two ago. Looks like the hares that are in Nova Scotia have eaten, we think it's probably the hares, have eaten tons of the pine cones. So there's stripped pine cones everywhere and there would have been so many more, but that's okay.
Squirrel.
I don't need any more than, like I don't even need this many, but I'm gonna take them home and dry them all because I can put them aside and then have some to start next season and then be able to get more and kind of rotate my stash. Okay, I thought we might find like a dozen. I didn't think we'd find 2 bags full.
So we took those really wet pine cones and we put them in our toaster oven on 200 for about an hour. I watched these like a hawk. It was the first time I'd put anything like pine cones in our little oven, and so I really didn't want any casualties. And so they actually dried out pretty quickly. They were really damp since they've been sitting out in fall here in Nova Scotia, so they did take a little longer than I thought, but they turned out really nice. And you can see I now have these nice, crispy, no bug, fan open pine cones. So the pine cones that we found were in various sizes. They were actually the perfect size for what I want to create for these cute little DIY penguin ornaments. For this DIY, you're going to need pine cones, and these 3 to 5 inch pine cones work best. Some 2-inch styrofoam balls, paintbrushes, paint palette, and I'm going to use orange, white, and black paint. A hot glue gun, colored felt and fabric, some oval wooden beads, some jute or Christmas ribbon. This is going to be a hanger, so you can basically use anything you'd like to be able to hang something. Scissors, and little eye hooks for the hardware. The first step to creating these penguins is to work on the head, and I'm going to use, you can use a little wood dowel or a pencil or something to stick into the styrofoam balls. This is just a little tip to be able to just hold it and then paint without getting paint all over yourself. And then I just have a little piece of styrofoam here, so once I paint it so it can dry, I'm just gonna stick it in so that I can do a couple coats on it and I'm not gonna get it everywhere. So just a little tip, it's easy to do that. If you're painting beads or something, you can do the same thing. I'm gonna take my paintbrush and some black acrylic paint, and I'm going to do at least 2 coats on the styrofoam balls to make sure I have a nice good coating over the styrofoam. You don't wanna see any of the styrofoam. You can see how the dowel really helps to not get the black paint all over you. So I'm making these penguins for a craft show that I have coming up. I'm going to be in my first craft show in my new community, and so I really wanted to take a few of these really cute penguins. I've made them before and they completely sold out, and so I think that they'll be really cute to have there on my table, and they're just something that's kind of unique and different that I hadn't seen before. Okay, so there's one, so I can put it in. And I think I want to take about 8 of these to my show, so I'm going to prep them all at the same time. In my head, I'm hearing Christmas music. Preparing for a Christmas market really makes you start thinking about Christmas pretty early. I feel like I'm making one of those like solar system dioramas from public school or something with the planets on the post. If you are as excited about Christmas as I am and you're looking forward to lots of Christmas DIYs, make sure you're subscribed to my channel so you don't miss out. We have lots of that content coming your way. That's why I love making things in batches, because you get your materials out once and then you can make 6 or 8 of something at the same time, kind of just doing each step as you go. And then you've created quite a bit of inventory, just doing everything kind of all together. The hole that this dowel is putting in at the bottom, it doesn't matter that there's going to be that little poked hole at the bottom, because you're actually going to adhere the head of the penguin onto the pine cone, and so you won't see that hole because that's where it's going to get glued on anyway. So don't worry about the size of the hole that you're putting in the bottom. Now that my styrofoam balls have 2 coats of the black matte paint, I chose to use a matte because now I'm going to put on a little bit of a white face onto it. And so I just thought that the matte was going to adhere the paint a lot better having another coat, but you can choose whatever one you want. Now I want to make just a really chunky heart, sort of to make a really soft space on the front of the penguin. You can pre-draw this on with a little pencil if you want to, but I'm just going to freehand mine. Because you're painting over the black, you're probably going to need 2 or 3 coats of the white paint. If you want to add a little bit of plaster of Paris to it, it'll thicken it up a little bit and you might get to do less coats. While I'm waiting for the little white faces to dry, I'm going to prep these little oval beads that we're going to use for the beak of the penguin. Mine are not a raw wood, they're already painted yellow and I want them an orange color. So I'm just going to stick them on the end of this little wood skewer so that I can paint them. And I already have a few already pre-done, but you're going to put a couple of coats on the beads. You can choose whatever color orange or beak color that you want. So I'm going to do a bunch of these and let them dry. And while those are drying, I'm going to go on to starting to cut some of the felt to create some little wings that are going to go on the penguins. And so you can cut these, I did about 2.5 to 3 inches, depending on the size of your pine cones. You're going to want to measure and make them about 3/4 of the length of your penguin. And so it's super easy. If you want to make 2 that are symmetrical, just fold your felt in half and then make your cut so that you can create 2 at the same time. That way you'll have 2 identical shapes. There really is no wrong shape to make the actual wings for the penguins. There you go. Now I have 2 wings. And also, while I have the felt out, I'm going to choose what color I want to make the little feet, and I'm just going to create a couple of little circular sort of bubbly feet that are going to get glued on the bottom of the penguin. And so I think I'm going to pick this sort of golden yellow color. I'm going to cut out 8 of those because I'm making 8 penguins. I'm ready to assemble the penguins now, and I'm going to use the oval beads and just literally push it into the spot on the penguin's face that I want it to go into. And I want my beaks to kind of stick out pretty far. So now I have a little bit of an indent. I'm going to use the hot glue to put it on the back side of the bead, and then I can push it in as far as I want it to go. And then using the back side of a paintbrush, I'm going to create 2 eyes. This is a great way to get replicated circles. So I'm going to dip it into my black paint and then use that tip to be able to make an eye. And I want my eyes to be pretty far apart. One there, and one there. And you can see that the paintbrush tip gave me 2 identical eyes, one on each side. Okay, and I'm gonna let that dry and do that to the other ones I've created, and then I'll be able to put them onto the pine cones. I'm excited to put these together. After a lot of steps to get to this point, we're ready to adhere it to our pine cones that we worked so hard to find. So I'm gonna take some scissors, and where I actually put the little skewer in so that I can paint it, and I'm going to just create a little bit of a hole in the styrofoam, which is really easy because styrofoam is obviously soft. And my idea is just to be able to get a little bit of the tip of the pine cone into it. That way I can put a bunch of glue in there. And since I've made these before, I know that they lasted on the tree the whole season and that worked perfectly fine. So I'm going to kind of use this as a little bit of a Dremel out here. You could just do this with a wooden dowel or something, but I happen to have some pointy scissors here to get some of the styrofoam filling out. Gives me a bit of an alcove, and I'm going to put a bunch of hot glue, his eyes are a little wet still, on the tip of the pine cone and then shove it into the head of the penguin. There we go. Filling it with hot glue and then putting in the pine cone. Hold it, let it set for a second. Hot glue takes an extra second when it's the styrofoam just because it kind of melts it a little bit. There we go. Now he's not lopsided. So there you go. You have a cute little body on your penguin and you're ready to put on your wings and your feet. And then I like to add just a really cute little white frosting on their white bellies and then be able to maybe even add a little scarf. So I have some thrifted fabric that I picked up. I usually like to look throughout the year and see if there's any cute pieces of fabric that are maybe in tablecloths or old pillowcases. And I'm going to use a little bit of a flannel to make a cute scarf around my penguin. So I'm going to glue on the wings. And this is why it doesn't really matter the size or the shape of your wings, because you can kind of put them wherever you want on your penguin. So there, my penguin has some wings. I'm gonna put the feet on. I'm going to take a little bit of white paint and just dry brush going up the fans and give them a little bit of a belly. Okay, and we're ready for a scarf. I noticed on this thrifted fabric that I have a little bit of a frayed end that is from the manufacturer, and I think that's actually really cute to have that on the end of one of the scarf pieces. So I'm going to cut a rectangle and then leave that frayed part at the end, just like a regular scarf would have. Now we want to make this into a hanging ornament, and that's where the eye hooks come into play. And because they have the little screw hole on them, unfortunately, because it is styrofoam, it's not going to stay there without a little help from a little bit more hot glue. So you can twist it into spot where you want it, but then I suggest taking it right back out. So I'm going to push mine where I want it. And then now that I have the hole where I want it, I'm going to take it back out, put some hot glue on it, and then stick it back in the hole. Doesn't take a lot of hot glue, but just enough to keep it there because it'll just strip from the little screw hole there. So you can see, and I chose a gold one. I really like the gold accent. And because I put a scarf on this penguin, I don't want to put a patterned Christmas ribbon on it. I'm going to go with just a standard jute. So I'm going to turn my little hook over, stick my jute through. I just feel like it's too much detail if I put on a Christmas ribbon. But on the penguins that I don't put the scarf on, I will use a colorful Christmas ribbon. And there we have the cutest little penguin ornament ever from a natural pine cone. So stinking cute.
Yeah.
So because I decided to take 8 of these to my show, I have 7 more little faces to create. So I'm going to continue on with that. That way I can have 4 with scars for my show and 4 without. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to hit like and even share my video with someone you think will enjoy it. Don't forget to hit subscribe, and we will see you tomorrow.